Seconds before impact, a traffic camera captures an officer walking away moments ahead of that massive Christmas Day bombing in downtown Nashville, the blast zone extending for blocks. Tonight, what we've learned about the suspect killed in the explosion, including what he told his neighbor just days before the blast, as the FBI searches for his possible motive, and the officers hailed as heroes for rushing to save lives. The holiday surge, Americans filling airports, returning from holiday travel. The TSA screening nearly 1.3 million people Sunday, all as December becomes the deadliest month of the pandemic. More than 65,000 Americans dying from COVID this month alone. Health experts warning of a, quote, surge upon a surge upon a surge after the latest holiday gatherings, and as concerns grow over new variants of the virus emerging overseas. Relief at last. President Trump signing the $900 billion COVID relief package after keeping struggling Americans waiting for days and allowing unemployment benefits to expire this weekend. And President-elect Joe Biden is blasting the Trump administration for what he calls irresponsibility during the transition.
Take the case off, that's mine.
The teen wrongly accused. Disturbing video showing a woman falsely accusing a black teenager of stealing her cell phone inside a New York City hotel. His father, a prominent jazz musician, coming to his son's defense. And tonight he's speaking out, calling for charges against the woman.
He's asking me, the cardinal questions. Why me, Dad?
And Crocs are cool now? Once mocked as a fashion faux pas, the hottest shoe trend is all about comfort, with some big-name stars giving Crocs a boost in 2020. Good evening. I'm Janae Norman in for Lindsay Davis. Thanks for streaming with us. The week between Christmas and New Year's is usually a time for rest and relaxation for Americans celebrating the holidays with family and friends, but not this year. Of course, the pandemic has made the 2020 holiday season like none we have ever experienced, as millions of Americans balance the desire to connect with family amid the grim reality of the latest COVID surge. That reality made clear today as December became the deadliest month so far of the pandemic, and the numbers take your breath away. Nearly 65,000 COVID-related deaths reported just this month, up from more than 37,000 in November. The race to bring more COVID vaccine doses to Americans growing more critical as health officials warn of dire weeks ahead. And already, hospitals in several states, including California, are overwhelmed and running out of ICU beds. So in this final week of 2020, we start with ABC's Kaylee Hartung on the latest in the battle against the pandemic.
Tonight, as millions continue to travel by air and on the roads, the dire warnings about a post-holiday wave of coronavirus infections becoming more urgent.
As we get into the next few weeks, it might actually get worse.
The TSA recording more than 1.2 million passengers yesterday, the most since the beginning of the pandemic. AAA expecting more than 80 million on the roads through the holidays. Experts pointing out, though, it's not necessarily the travel putting people at risk, but the get-togethers. December already the deadliest month on record, over 65,000 COVID-related deaths. This is over 2 million vaccines have been administered in the U.S., but that's well below the 20 million vaccinations the White House task force projected by the end of the year. The administration now pushing that goal into January.
20 million doses will be distributed to states by the first week in January. That's where we are.
Today in Florida, senior citizens lined up overnight hoping to get their doses. It's been 10 months since the Life Care Center in Kirkland, Washington was the site of one of the earliest outbreaks. 7 residents of this nursing home just outside Seattle are exhibiting symptoms. Nurses there today relieved to finally receive the vaccine.
That feels good.
And in New York, just as the state reports a jump in its daily positivity rate, a criminal investigation underway looking into ParCare Community Health. The healthcare provider is accused of violating the state's vaccine distribution plan, allegedly diverting doses to more than 850 people not on the priority list.
We will not tolerate any fraud in the vaccination process.
ParCare saying in a new statement tonight, we are actively cooperating and providing the facts to the state is exactly what we have done and will continue to do. Also raising concerns tonight, that new, possibly more contagious variant of the virus first found in the UK, now in over a dozen countries, including Canada.
I'd be shocked if it weren't here already.
In California, which saw more than 50,000 new infections over the weekend, Southern California hospitals turning some ambulances away. Others forced to make patients wait for hours until a bed becomes available. In Tennessee, Diana Willett is mourning the loss of her 25-year-old son, Christopher, after they both contracted the virus. He was on the autism spectrum, proud of his job at a local supermarket, but disturbed by customers who wouldn't wear masks.
It really was upsetting at how many people didn't wear masks. And he didn't understand why they didn't care.
And Kaylee Hartung joins us now from California. And Kaylee, with so many Americans traveling, that's sparking those fears that the spread will only get worse in the coming weeks. California, where you are, still dealing with the post-Thanksgiving surge. So give us a sense of just how overwhelmed the system already is there.
Yeah, Jeanette, you can see these surge tents behind me. We see these at almost every hospital in the area because these hospitals are inundated with COVID patients. Right now, there is 0 ICU availability in Los Angeles County. And so that means the stay-at-home order that was in effect here, it has been for 3 weeks, set to expire today. It will continue. This county is on pace to surpass 10,000 deaths in just a matter of days. So officials fear that this will almost certainly get worse. Janae?
Kaylee, those numbers, 10,000 deaths, 0 ICU availability. Thank you so much for painting that picture for us. And from California now to Washington, where we are 23 days away from the inauguration. And today, President-elect Joe Biden blasting the Trump administration, calling its failure to cooperate fully on matters of national security nothing short of irresponsibility. Meanwhile, President Trump has finally signed that COVID relief bill, caving on his demand for $2,000 direct stimulus payments. Though on that, Biden says he agrees with the president. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, President-elect Joe Biden sounding the alarm, accusing the Trump administration of obstructing the transition and putting national security at risk.
We have encountered roadblocks from the political leadership at the Department of Defense and the Office of Management and Budget. It's nothing short, in my view, of irresponsibility.
The president is still fighting to overturn the election after trying to derail the COVID relief package millions of Americans are counting on.
It really is a disgrace.
For days, he refused to sign the bill his own Treasury Secretary negotiated. The delay meant people like Beth Sullivan in Seattle saw their unemployment benefits expire. She's been out of work since March.
What a way to slap people at Christmas time.
The president claimed the $600 in direct payments his team negotiated wasn't enough, saying he wanted to send out $2,000 checks.
I understand he wants to be remembered for advocating for big checks, but the danger is he'll be remembered for chaos and misery and erratic behavior if he allows this to expire.
And in the end, Trump backed down and got nothing. In fact, his fellow Republicans are the ones opposed to sending bigger checks to Americans. Tonight, Democrats in the House are voting to do just that, though it will be an uphill battle in the GOP-controlled Senate.
And Rachel Scott joins me now. Rachel, House Democrats are still trying to make clear that they support those bigger stimulus checks. So break down for us how the vote came down and what we heard from Joe Biden on the issue today.
Yeah, Janae, so that standalone bill was approved in the House tonight, voting to increase the amount of those stimulus checks to $2,000. But it is likely to go absolutely nowhere in the Senate because it's the president's own party who opposes raising those stimulus checks. Biden today, the president-elect, saying he does support those $2,000 payments, but it will be up to him and his administration to try and get through another coronavirus relief bill. Janae?
And many Americans will be looking forward to that as they are in dire situations. So, Rachel, when can Americans expect to see those $600 checks, and when will they get them?
Yeah, exactly. All of this tonight is definitely up in the air. So if you make less than $75,000 a year, you can expect to receive those one-time payments of $600. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin wanted those payments in the mail to Americans before the new year, but all of that was thrown out of the window when the president waited 6 days to sign that bill. So they're scrambling tonight to try and get those out to Americans.
All right. Thank you so much, Rachel Scott, for breaking that down for us. And for more now on this, I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. Thank you so much, Congressman, for being here with us. Yep. So the president finally signed the long-awaited COVID relief bill. What do you make of the president delaying signing the bill? And do you think it caused harm to Americans, including your constituents, who have long been waiting on this relief?
Yeah, I think it was a pointless delay. I mean, his team negotiated this. We should have done this months ago, by the way. But this last week, the delay, I don't understand it. The president was conflating on Twitter two different things, the COVID bill versus general government spending. And ultimately, I'm glad he signed it, but it was a needless delay. And I think people were hurt, but, we'll come back from that.
And so the House voted today to boost those payments to Americans to $2,000, which you did back. But that could be a tough sell in the Senate. So what do you say to your fellow Republicans? How do you convince them that more relief is needed right now for Americans?
I just think we're at a moment where, everybody's in a bad position. And we're also in a moment we're about to overcome this virus with the vaccine out there. So this is the time we have to do this. Now, that said, it's probably not going to get through the Senate. Maybe not. But if it doesn't, we come back at the beginning of the year and I think have to look at where we need to fill in those gaps, especially like state and local funding issues as well.
And so you said this is a moment when so many people are in a bad condition. President-elect Biden has called the current bill a down payment on addressing the pandemic's impact. So will you support the Biden administration when they push for more economic stimulus after he takes office?
Well, I'll support what we need to do. Right now, obviously, you can't blanket support anything that you haven't seen the bill. I also don't want to be careless about spending money because this is on the backs of the next generation that are going to have to pay for this. But if the country needs it, it needs it. I mean, the bottom line is we do have a massive debt, and it will only get worse if the economy falls apart. So that's what we have to prevent.
And finally, I want to ask you, President Trump continues to make baseless allegations about the results of the election. What do you say to your fellow Republicans who have remained silent or even supported the president's false claims about the election? You spoke out about them before. What do you say to those who haven't?
Well, I just say, look, you don't have to speak out as much as I do, but I think it's important to defend the integrity of the election system, because the long-term impact on that is really dangerous to a democracy and a republic. And so false claims about an election that are unproven, convincing half the country or some that it was stolen, it's very dangerous. People need to speak out. They don't have to speak out as much as I do, but I think it's important for people to hear from their leaders.
Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, we turn now to new details about the Christmas Day bombing in Nashville, Tennessee. Police releasing this new video of the moment right there of the blast that destroyed dozens of buildings in the center of downtown. Authorities have now identified the bomber as Anthony Warner, the 63-year-old local man who died in the attack. Just days before the bomb detonated, Warner telling a neighbor, "The world is never going to forget me." Now the investigation turns to motive. What made him do it? ABC's Marcus Moore has been on the scene in Nashville since the very beginning, and he joins us tonight as authorities say they still have no hard clues.
Tonight, investigators combing the scene of the Christmas Day blast in downtown Nashville say this man, Anthony Quinn Warner, blew himself up inside his RV in front of an AT&T building, but they still don't know why.
He was not on our radar.
Authorities using DNA evidence to determine that 63-year-old Warner died in the blast, and authorities believe he acted alone. Sources tell ABC News investigators are looking at a theory that Warner may have been motivated, at least in part, by a paranoia over 5G cell technology. Conspiracy theories falsely allege 5G networks can weaken the immune system, among other things. The RV that exploded closely matches one seen in a Google image outside Warner's home taken in May of 2019. Officials say Warner recently transferred the deed to the home to a woman in California, but it's unclear why. And tonight, word that Warner reportedly told a neighbor last week that Nashville and the world, quote, is never going to forget me. The force of the blast strong enough to collapse a building and blow out windows and doors for blocks.
You can still hear the alarms going off, and you can see it looks like something you'd see from a war movie.
Officers initially responded to a report of shots fired downtown early Christmas morning when they found that RV parked in front of an AT&T building, broadcasting a female voice. Also playing the 1964 hit song Downtown by Petula Clark. 6 responding officers raced to roust residents and get them to safety before the blast knocked several of them to the ground.
I just saw the biggest flames I've ever seen, the biggest explosion.
But no one was seriously hurt.
I feel very lucky to be alive. Christmas will never be the same for any of us.
And Marcus joining us now from Nashville. Marcus, back to that neighbor. Tell us more about that eerie conversation that he had with Warner just days before the bombing.
Yeah, very eerie, Janae. The neighbor said that he talked with Warner, and at one point he said that Nashville and the world would never forget him. And the neighbor at the time didn't really make much of it, but of course, once he heard about this incident, it certainly hit very close to home for him.
Yeah, I imagine so. And Marcus, one detail that really sticks out, there were surveillance cameras on the RV, seeming to suggest that Warner was watching what was going on.
Yeah, that is a detail, Janae, we heard from a police officer, one of the first officers on the scene, Officer Wells, during a news conference over the weekend. He said he noticed the camera that was near the rearview mirror and the overhang of the RV. And yeah, for him, it was seemed as if they were being watched at the time, and as they were hearing that voice, that ominous countdown to the explosion that ultimately happened and devastated part of Nashville.
So many questions in searching for answers. Marcus Moore, thank you so much. Well, next, a major storm blowing coast to coast as the year comes to an end. Heavy rain in Southern California, this swift water rescue on the LA River, and snow in Big Bear Lake and higher elevations. The system reaching the Northeast by New Year's Eve, and a second storm is brewing for New Year's Day. ABC's chief meteorologist Ginger Z is tracking it all. Hey, Ginger.
Janae, it would not be a holiday week if we didn't have storms to talk about, so let's go ahead and get to them. And I say them because there are two that I really want to focus in on. One that's going to bring this block of snow overnight, Utah, Colorado, into early tomorrow morning. So the heaviest snow goes then from South Dakota right through Minneapolis, northeastern Iowa, southwest Wisconsin. Now, Chicago may start as snow, but watch as that warm front lifts through, it's going to change to rain. I think you'll see a rain to snow in a place like, say, Indianapolis, but it'll be so minimal it wouldn't be the snow that's a problem there. Now, talk New Year's Eve. So that's New Year's Eve morning, where that low is down near Houston, between there and Dallas. It's going to move more south to north, and as that starts to bubble north, New Year's Eve, if you're driving late or you have some potential to be on the roads by early Friday morning, Kansas City over to Chicago, Cleveland and Toledo could see an icy mix up along that low and front, and it will be mostly rain and even strong storms from southeast to northeast. Janae?
That storm making a tough end to a tough year. Our thanks to Ginger. Well, outraged tonight as a woman falsely accused a black teen of stealing her iPhone. When we return, we talked to that young man's father who caught the moment on camera and find out where his lawyer says the woman's phone turned up in the end. Plus, control of the Senate is up for grabs, and it all hinges on Georgia. Millions of dollars pouring in on both sides, but can money make a difference? And holiday coronavirus concerns, the record number of Americans traveling, and what experts say that means for the fight against COVID-19.
Admit it, these days, what you need to know seems to change, well, like every day. So what is it that you really need to know, want to know, to help you not just get through your day, but make the most of it? Feel smarter, feel better, feel happier. Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon? GMA 3, what you need to know. It's all about you. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. This is going to be so good.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
What you're seeing right now, this is part of the eye wall. This procession of migrants goes back 2 miles.
There is going to be catastrophic damage.
This fire has made a run. You can see those flames shooting up into the sky.
We are on the jam-packed red carpet.
To the right, guys.
So this is the 4th weekend of protest.
Watch ABC News on location for Facebook Watch.
Your mom said, comb your hair. Your dad told you, smarten up. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to me straight. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. So if you like getting behind the biggest news stories of the day, inside all the details, the backstory, and what will happen next, then listen to Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. It's like no other news podcast out there. Even the critics agree. Listen free on Apple Podcasts.
Welcome back. Now to the outrageous confrontation in a hotel lobby here in New York City. A white woman falsely accused a 14-year-old black teen of stealing her iPhone. The boy's father was right there with his son and captured some of the incident on video. So where was that woman's phone? The family's lawyer says it was later found in an Uber. Here's ABC's Adrian Banker.
Tonight, this video of a scuffle involving an unidentified woman claiming a teenager had allegedly stolen her phone, sparking outrage.
This is my phone.
Show me. No,
you don't have to explain nothing to her.
Take the case off. That's mine. Literally, get it back, please.
Are you kidding me? You feel like there's only one iPhone made in the world?
Now, Keon Harold, a prominent jazz musician and father of the teen, is speaking out.
We were basically targeted, and the lady from the video, is screaming and, erratically that my son somehow took her phone.
The incident occurring in the lobby of the Arlo Hotel in downtown New York City, where Harold and his family were staying. Within seconds, the hotel manager gets involved.
No, I'm trying to settle the situation. My son has nothing to do with her.
No.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the lobby.
Then show me the proof.
We have you see two black people?
No, I'm not letting him walk away with my phone.
As the situation escalates, the woman's seen on the ground. It's not clear if she was pushed or fell. Harold claims she scratched him and tackled his son.
Get your ass off.
And joining us now to discuss what happened and what steps will be taken next is the father of that teenage boy, Keon Harold, along with civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who's now representing the family. Ben and Keon, thank you both so much for being here with us. Keon, I want to start with you. And first off, I am so sorry for this awful moment that you experienced with your son. As a mom with a son myself, I cannot imagine. Can you walk us through exactly what happened before you started recording and what made you decide that you needed to get your camera out?
Okay. Hello to you. It was the day after Christmas, and my son and I were just trying to get downstairs to get something to eat. So lo and behold, we come down the elevator, we turn the corner, and, immediately we were basically targeted, and the lady from the video, is screaming and, erratically that my son somehow took her phone, literally, and I'm still trying to make sense of it all. But, before it, I really didn't even think it was serious, but it got such to a point and that I said, you know what? Today's day, things get crazy really quickly. Let me take out my phone. Let me take out my iPhone. And I started videoing. And again, on the video, you can see that she's yelling, he has my phone. Look at it. Get it, let me get it. And so I was so thrown off that, that the hotel representative was basically siding with her to get my son to give her his phone. And, I just wouldn't stand for it. I'm still in shock. I'm still trying to believe, that it happened. It happened so quickly that it's just unbelievable that someone would literally have the audacity to assume and wrongfully accuse, my son, who's 14 years old, not ever seen him. We never met this person before, that he had somehow gotten access and stole her phone.
And, I hear you keep saying that you're still in shock and you're trying to wrap your mind around it. How is your son doing? 14 years old, having this happen.
He's asking me, the cardinal questions. Why me, Dad? Why would somebody choose me and think that I would steal anything from him? He's shaken up in a major way. And, unfortunately, I've tried to protect him. His mom has tried. We've tried to protect him and keep him from, different scenarios. And lo and behold, in the hotel that we come downstairs and we're assaulted the way we were. I'm giving him a lot of love, giving him as much attention as I possibly can, and you know, talking to him about the narratives, how things work sometimes, and you know, the way, the kind of world that we should be working toward making, that, you know, nobody should be falsely suggested that they've stolen anything. Definitely not you as a 14-year-old boy, 14-year-old black boy. You know, you should be able to exist anywhere you want to exist and be free to do that in this country.
Well, Mr. Crump, I want to bring you in. Has the woman in the video obtained an attorney yet, and has she tried to reach out to the Heralds to explain herself?
Not that we're aware of at all. She did not apologize or offer any contrition after she retrieved her cell phone, apparently in some kind of taxi or Uber. She falsely accused this young man in front of his father and assaulted and battered him. And so we are demanding that the Manhattan District Attorney, Cy Vance Jr., charge this Karen for assaulting and battering both Keon and his 14-year-old son. Because if the roles were reversed and Keon tackled a teenage white child over a false accusation about a cell phone, there is no question he would be arrested. And so we can't have this double standard in America. The fact that the hotel manager either condoned the racism at best or was participating in the racial profiling when he asked Keon's son for his phone so he can make sure it was his, that it was legitimate.
And Mr. Crump, are you also considering bringing a lawsuit against Arlo Hotels?
We're asking for a civil rights investigation into Arlo Hotel for the implicit bias that was demonstrated by their hotel management and their security.
And Keon, speaking to that point, your son's mother posted on Instagram that the most painful feeling was being a parent and not being able to protect her child against racial hatred. Thankfully, as you said, there has been an outpouring of support, but really, as a parent in that situation, you being there and feeling almost helpless in a way, I really empathize with you because I cannot imagine. But talk to me again about the conversations that you've had as you're sitting down with him to explain what happened, why it wasn't his fault, why he shouldn't have to accept this.
He wanted to know how it was his fault, you know, and I had to explain to my son, you know, it's not your fault. People do things, they act the way they act, and sometimes it's just not you. So basically my conversations are to let him know that, son, you're just, you know, continue to live the way you live. We have to do things. We have to change the narrative. We have to change laws. We have to do things that would allow you to literally be the American little boy, 14-year-old minor that you are, that you have rights. You have just as many rights as anybody else walking these streets.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, and hopefully this awful experience does not have a long-lasting impact on your son, Keon Harold and Ben Crump. Thank you guys both so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
So coming up tonight, the Senate face-off in Georgia. With just 8 days until Election Day, the record-setting money being spent in the fight to control the Senate. And are we bracing for a surge in the pandemic? The new numbers that have experts worried tonight. Plus, Aunt Becky is now a free woman. Lori Loughlin's tearful reunion after a 2-month stay behind bars. And our tweet of the day, singer Mark Anthony mourning the death of iconic Mexican composer and singer Armando Manzanero, tweeting, "Today the teacher leaves us, a giant talent, an admirable man who with his music and his lyrics was an inspiration for many of us." Manzanero died from complications due to COVID-19 at the age of 85. Stay with us.
This is what being live is all about.
Now I can see
This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source, ABC News. Wow. Breaking news, live events as they happen, streaming live, non-stop, straight to you. Original, on the edge, breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want, free. And imagine the most celebrated, epic live events and moments, all playing out right before your eyes.
See those flames behind me?
And go deeper inside the groundbreaking exclusives from the campaign trail only ABC News gets. Watch ABC News Live right now and anytime. Streaming on Roku, Hulu, Facebook, and abcnews.com.
ABC News Live, streaming everywhere, right to you.
ABC News Live.
The Americans here on the ground and the Iraqis. 18,000 tons. Patatas. Ismail? David. For ground zero from Hurricane Michael. You can see just home after home.
David, nice to meet you.
This was your view.
My favorite view.
Thank you very much.
Yes, mornings may look different these days, but where you start your day,
where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking new information of the day to help you navigate through these times.
That's why we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I love saying that.
Wake me up.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News honored winner for the second straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for Overall Excellence in Television. ABC News, America's #1 news source.
This is GMA3, what you need to know. GMA3.
A third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon.
It's all about you. Lunchtime on ABC.
And now to the two Georgia runoff races that will determine which party controls the U.S. Senate. The Democrats need to win both contests to wrestle power from Republicans and secure Joe Biden's presidential agenda. So here's where these critical races stand by the numbers. With 8 days to go, over 2 million Georgians have already cast ballots, a turnout far exceeding expectations. Nearly 67,000 of these early voters skipped the November general election, a sign of strong engagement this time around. Just 1/10 of a percentage point. That's Republican Senator David Perdue's razor-thin lead over Democrat Jon Ossoff, according to a polling average by 538. Perdue is polling at 47.9% to Ossoff's 47.8%. Meanwhile, Reverend Raphael Warnock, a Democrat, is ahead by just 9/10 of a percentage point. That's 48.3% for Warnock and 47.3% for Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler. With so much at stake and margins this slim, money is pouring in. Democrats Ossoff and Warnock have each raised more than $100 million since October, and Ossoff is now the best-funded Senate candidate in U.S. history. Be sure to catch our Georgia Senate race coverage right here on ABC News Live on January 5th, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Well, still ahead, preparing to see more COVID cases after the holidays. The record travel numbers sparking concern as a new COVID surge could be on the way. Plus, the Full House star released from jail after spending 2 months locked in a college bribery scandal. And we say goodbye to 2020, a look back at the biggest moments of the year and the familiar scene shaping up in Times Square to ring in the new year. But first, a look at our top trending stories on abcnews.com.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march.
You will not replace us!
Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown Hate, The War Among Us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Now, when it matters most, the straightforward facts. ABC News is America's #1 news. #1 in the morning, #1 in the evening, with America's most watched newscast. #1 in late night versus the competition. The #1 news magazine on Friday nights. #1 in politics across this historic election versus the competition. The #1 daytime talk show. And #1 in streaming news. ABC News is America's #1 news.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. So if you like getting behind the biggest news stories of the day, inside all the details, the backstory, and what will happen next, then listen to Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. It's like no other news podcast out there. Even the critics agree. Listen free on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, mornings may look different these days, but where you start your day,
where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking new information of the day to help you navigate through these times.
That's why we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I love saying that.
Wake me up.
The most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime. 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
Today, investigators are calling the Christmas Day blast that destroyed parts of downtown Nashville a suicide bombing. Authorities reviewing new traffic camera footage showing the moment of the explosion. Shortly after 1 a.m. Christmas morning, this RV was seen parked outside the AT&T building. Law enforcement trying to determine if it may have been the intended target. Investigators say 63-year-old Anthony Warner was the only casualty and are now looking into his psychiatric and medical history for clues to a motive. After refusing for a week, President Trump signed a massive pandemic relief package averting a government shutdown.
Shortly after Democrats and Republicans originally reached a compromise, the president shocked Capitol Hill when he indicated he would not sign. Trump claimed the deal was filled with wasteful, non-COVID-related spending.
Meanwhile, the House just passed a measure to take up Trump's demand for $2,000 stimulus checks. But it's all but certain to fail in the Republican-led Senate, if it's even voted on in the Senate at all. At the same time, lawmakers from both sides of the aisle overrode President Trump's veto of the annual defense policy bill, setting up what could be the first override of his presidency.
An Army Special Forces sergeant is now charged with a shooting in Illinois that killed 3 people. 37-year-old Duke Webb is accused of opening fire at a bowling alley on Saturday night in Rockford. 3 people were injured, including 1 critically. In a statement, the commander of 1st Special Forces Command said Webb's actions are abhorrent, shocking, and completely out of character with his 12 years of honorable service. A witness to the shooting left them shaken.
The second I saw a police officer, I knew we were going to be okay. They did their jobs and they did it well. I cannot stress that enough. They really did, and I'm thankful for them. They saved our life.
Webb was based in Florida but was on leave when the shooting occurred and has no known connection with the victims. Police have not determined a motive for the shooting.
In China, a citizen journalist was sentenced to 4 years in prison for reporting about the coronavirus in Wuhan. Zhang Zhan was found guilty of picking quarrels and provoking trouble. She began reporting about the initial outbreak and lockdowns in early February when the Chinese government was trying to limit news of the outbreak. Her trial lasted less than 3 hours.
Full House actress Lori Loughlin has been released from prison after spending 2 months behind bars for paying $500,000 in bribes to get her 2 daughters into college.
One of their daughters, YouTube personality Olivia Jade, talked about the scandal for the first time earlier this month on Jada Pinkett Smith's show Red Table Talk.
It's been hard, I think, for anybody, no matter what the situation is. You don't want to see your parents go to prison.
Loughlin spent about half of her sentence in isolation as the prison she served time in deals with an outbreak of COVID-19.
Researchers at Oxford University may have come up with a way to turn carbon dioxide into jet fuel. Let that sit in for a second. Researchers were able to capture and convert CO2 and convert it into jet fuel, and they did it with an inexpensive, just basic catalyst. And now at this point, the amount of liquid fuel produced is still far too small to power an actual plane, but this is an important first step. The repercussions are enormous for future travel or environment and the planet.
Welcome back to ABC News Live Prime. Despite seeing a massive surge in COVID cases and deaths due to the holidays, Americans are still on the go. Millions are heading home after traveling for Christmas, and that is sparking major concerns over another surge in COVID cases. ABC's Gio Benitez is here in New York City with more.
Hey there, Janae. When it comes to the pandemic, we are seeing unprecedented traveler numbers both by air and by road. Let's go ahead and start by air, though, because in just about 11 days at U.S. airports, we've seen 9 million people going through TSA checkpoints. Air travel is still down dramatically when you compare it to last year, but these numbers are still surprising with so many COVID cases from coast to coast. Now, this is expected to be a busy week on the road, too. AAA forecasting more than 80 million drivers for the year-end holidays. There are some peak travel times to look for. In L.A., Tuesday around 5 p.m., and in Seattle, New York, and Chicago, Wednesday between 4 and 5 p.m. But listen, it could be busy everywhere this coming Sunday, January 3rd. That is when everyone goes home. And health officials are very concerned that this could spark yet another surge with all of these travelers. Janae?
Thanks so much, Gio. And joining us now with more on the potential for a holiday surge is ABC contributor and epidemiologist Dr. John Brownstein. Dr. Brownstein, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's talk about the kind of uptick in COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths that we could expect after the holiday. So many people were traveling. What's your biggest concern right now?
Yeah, thank you, Janae. I mean, really, the holidays have been proven to be a catalyst for virus spread each and every time. We saw this post-Thanksgiving, and in fact, we're still in the surge post-Thanksgiving, and we're seeing hospitals around this country already at capacity. We're seeing this right now in California. They can't accept new patients. So now you layer in travel from the Christmas holidays and also into New Year's. It's a much longer time period and more people traveling. I'm incredibly concerned. And so models are projecting maybe 500,000 deaths by April 1st. And just a word of caution, people are going to look at the data and say, oh, cases are coming down. The data is going to be very unstable, lots of delays in reporting. So I would not look at the data and think that we're out of the woods. We need to continue with social distancing and mask wearing through these important weeks and be incredibly cautious to avoid that surge.
Potential for 500,000 deaths by April 1st is really just unfathomable. But Dr. Brownstein, with the new coronavirus variants that we've seen in England, in France, Canada, South Africa, and other places, I know at this point it appears that the vaccines we have work against that new variant. But is it possible that that new variant could continue to mutate to the point where the vaccines don't work against it?
Yeah, I mean, that there is a definite concern over the long period. I mean, this is a variant that is taking over in many parts of the country, the globe. In this country, we don't actually think it's driving the surge we're seeing in California, but it's likely here, and we've just missed it because of our limited surveillance. We just don't do enough sequencing in this country. So it's possible it's here, and it's possible over time it will mutate. Now, the current variant likely will do fine with this vaccine, but over the months, and if not years, it could pose a problem for the vaccine. And this is why we have to think long-term with vaccines. Do we need to adapt this vaccine to new variants over time? But I think for the coming, 6 months, we'll be actually totally fine with the current vaccine, at least with the preliminary data that we've seen.
And Dr. Brownstein, as we've been thinking about the light at the end of the tunnel, two main things that we were hoping for, a vaccine and 2021. We've got the vaccine. We're days away from the new year. What do you think that summer or next fall will look like as more Americans do get vaccinated?
Right. So I think as those vaccines start to roll out, especially as they go to the vulnerable populations, the risks of hospitalizations and deaths will start to come down. But it's not going to be binary, like we're just all of a sudden back to normal life. We'll start to resume sort of the normal day activities, especially the ones outside, maybe not major congregations of people. But heading into the second half of the summer and fall, I expect we'll actually start to get some semblance of normalcy. But that is so dependent on getting vaccine uptake in this population. Tall order, but I think if we have the right communications and people are behind this vaccine, I think the second half of 21 will actually be pretty enjoyable, much better than 2020.
And it still remains to be seen how normal our new normal will look. Dr. Brownstein, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And the pandemic and the unimaginable toll it's taken on all of us dominated the headlines for so much of this year. But amid COVID's attacks on our communities, we have seen cries for justice. We've lost international superstars. We've survived historic fires and so much more. So as 2020 draws to an end, let's take a look back at the year that has truly been unlike any other.
Iranian General Qasem Soleimani assassinated in a U.S. drone strike.
The Senate will convene as a court of impeachment. Donald John Trump be acquitted of the charges in said articles.
A helicopter carrying NBA legend Kobe Bryant crashing, killing everyone on board.
Chinese health authorities are still working to identify the virus in Wuhan.
Officials there confirm new cases of the coronavirus.
That first case here in the U.S.
Thousands of passengers on that cruise ship are stuck at sea.
At least 10 nursing homes with patients testing positive. The World Health Organization declaring it a global pandemic.
We're deeply concerned by the alarming levels of spread.
The world's biggest economy creaking to a halt.
Shutting down restaurants, gyms, movie theaters, Broadway dark.
Workers worried about life without a steady income.
Do I pay my rent? Do I pay my bills? Do I feed my children?
The president signing off on a $2 trillion stimulus.
With schools shut down in more than 35 states,
marking a seismic shift to online learning.
America at war with the coronavirus.
There's patients everywhere because of this.
Hospitals are nearly full.
Pretty much the entire emergency department's a hot zone.
When you've seen someone agonally gasp for air, it will be burned into my memory.
Running out of ventilators.
Stretched pretty thin.
It's a scary time to be a doctor.
Growing PPE shortages, healthcare workers unprotected.
I didn't sign up for this, literally risking my life.
Now they're losing their own.
They run towards tragedy.
Nurses providing that critical link between patients and their family.
They're dying alone in a hospital room without family.
We can't grieve with our friends and our family. It makes everything 10 times worse and tougher.
Pleading for more protection for essential workers.
To protect the people that are vulnerable. Protect the low worker.
Disproportionately impacting Black Americans.
I am missing my husband.
The Navajo Nation, now the highest infection rate in the country.
Historic decimation among the Hispanic community.
Say her name!
26-year-old Breonna Taylor shot and killed by Louisville police officers.
No one was charged in connection to Taylor's death.
This cell phone video shows the moment when 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery was killed.
His life shouldn't have ended the way that it ended.
What's his name? George Floyd!
The anger and sadness over George Floyd's death seen across the nation.
None of it is new, but this is the first time everybody's seeing it.
He was a great father, a great husband.
27-year-old Rayshard Brooks was shot and killed by police.
It didn't have to end that way.
Outrage igniting in Kenosha.
The anger sparked by the shooting of 29-year-old Jacob Blake.
They shot my son 7 times. It is going to take a miracle for Jacob to ever walk again.
Cries for justice in the wake of the death of Daniel Prude.
Nobody deserves to die when they are in need.
Wildfires raging in the west.
Firefighters battling the fire from the air and the ground.
Flames coming off of it, creating these fire whirls.
This is hell if I don't know what else.
Families struggling to get out through thick plumes of smoke.
Our house burnt down to the ground.
Officials say that dozens of raging fires are burning into each other, creating what they call complexes.
We're so lucky to be alive.
30 named storms developed in the Atlantic Basin, the most in any year in recorded history.
Hurricane Isaias wreaking havoc.
First time I was in a house that ever shook.
Oh!
Lake Charles took a direct hit from Category 4 Hurricane Laura, one of the most powerful storms to ever hit the U.S.
Hurricane Sally crushing the Gulf Coast.
We literally have water coming in the windows and the door.
It's hard to believe that it's happening again. Hurricane Delta is coming ashore. Southwest Louisiana is getting slammed again. Hurricane Zeta right now is cutting into New Orleans.
This race unlike any other, resulting in record mail-in and early voting.
No matter who you vote for, I feel like everybody's vote counts.
We've won with the most votes ever cast from presidential ticket. Vice President Kamala Harris makes history.
President Trump and the First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus.
Hospitalizations surging to unprecedented levels.
We are really in a public health crisis.
Decimating American communities.
ICU is full. The teams are working as hard as they can.
One hospital has run out of staff.
If you don't have the manpower, I cannot save your life.
That grim new milestone. More than 300,000 American lives have now been lost.
This is what we've been waiting for.
A vaccine injection, but it was also an injection of hope.
This is the beginning of the end for COVID.
To say that 2020 will be a year none of us will soon forget would be an unbelievable understatement. But coming up, new hope for a new year. The sign 2021 is just around the corner, and how the celebration will look just a bit different. Plus, the famous footwear getting a whole new vibe. How Crocs, yes, Crocs, went from practical staple to must-have footwear fashion. Stay with us.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
Most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Finish this sentence. 2020 has been...
Now, Tuesday night on ABC. Just wait until you see the answers.
2020 is over?
Wow.
Tuesday night on ABC. Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. It's all about you.
What you're seeing right now, this is part of the eye wall. This procession of migrants goes back 2 miles.
There is going to be catastrophic damage.
This fire has made a run. You can see those flames shooting up into the sky.
We are on the jam-packed red carpet.
To the right, guys.
So this is the 4th weekend of protest.
Watch ABC News on location for Facebook Watch. Breaking news, context, analysis.
With today's extraordinary news cycle,
Now is the perfect time for ABC News Live.
A streaming news game changer. The time is now for ABC News Live. Get it, streaming everywhere.
There once was a man in a clinic.
Come on in, let me see.
The pets, they never did finick.
Hold your head up. Poor thing.
With the doctor's steady hand,
Brutus, that's it.
the patients felt grand.
She looks so much better.
His practice was no place for a cynic. No place for us. No place for a cynic. The Incredible Dr. Paul. New season Saturday, January 2nd at 9 on Nat Geo Wild.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
More Americans choose ABC News, America's #1 news source.
Welcome back. As with just about everything this year, the hottest shoe trend is less about fashion and more about function. So forget those high heels and get ready to rock your Crocs. Lindsay Davis explains.
Who knew practical footwear could garner so much traction from fans and haters alike?
Clogs, Willie, you were wearing clogs.
They're very comfortable.
Stop it.
Crocs were once called one of the world's worst inventions for their polarizing aesthetic. But these quirky clogs are now arguably the hottest shoe of the season.
Look what I just got. I love Crocs.
Seen on some of your favorite stars. And after a year of successful collaborations with some of the world's biggest artists, they've been crowned Brand of the Year by Footwear News. But when did Crocs become cool?
I think people at this point are just embracing them for what they are and really enjoying it. And, you know, maybe some people see them as ugly, but it's sort of a ugly cool.
Elle's fashion features director, Veronique Hyland, says the rise of Crocs can be traced to the fashion runway.
It kind of started in 2016 with Christopher Kane, who is a London designer. And the same thing happened a year later when Balenciaga showed Crocs on their runway, these crazy platform versions with their own gibbets. And I feel like in both cases, it was designers using this as almost a meme or something that was intentionally going to go viral and get attention.
That attention trickling down from high fashion to mainstream, from tie-dyes to bling, even fur. There's no limit to self-expression with the customizable clogs. And some of music's biggest stars are getting in on all the action. Chart toppers and style icons Bad Bunny, Justin Bieber, and Post Malone all collaborating with the footwear company, each with their own Croc concoction selling out within hours of their release. Fans lucky enough to get their hands on a pair quickly flaunted their prize on social media.
Music has always driven style. People are drawn to Post Malone, they're drawn to Bad Bunny, they're drawn to Justin Bieber. These are all very different style archetypes, but they are people who have a huge influence.
That influence has impacted Gen Z in particular. Crocs are the 9th most popular footwear brand among teens, according to research firm Piper Sandler. The 19-year-old Rayanne Prophet is the self-professed Croc queen on TikTok. With 66 pairs to her name and counting, she's garnered more than 150,000 followers simply by sharing her unabashed love for the comfort shoe.
Most of my spare money goes to Crocs, and I'm always looking for new ones. I show like new ones that I get, or like limited edition ones, or like my special stuff I have with Crocs, and they're like, "Oh, where you get that? I want that. I want to be like that." Oh my God. Such a cool collection, like goals.
Her love of Crocs even caught the eye of the brand itself.
About a year ago, they followed me on TikTok, and then this year, they sent me the Justin Bieber once I came out.
From graduation day to prom night, Rayanne says there's a Croc for every occasion.
I wore them to prom, so I styled them with my prom dress. I wore them to like semi-formals in high school. I'll wear them to like fancy dinners, or like jeans and a shirt or a skirt. Like I can style them with anything. It just depends what color you put with them to match.
And if you really want to kick things up a notch, you can add flair to your Crocs. These little numbers, which are often misplaced, are called gibbets, and they are the ultimate accessory in the world of Crocs. The charms inserted into the holes of the shoe allow wearers to make a statement, from the fashionable to the whimsical, even the political.
It just feels like another way to be expressive with the shoes, which is kind of fun.
The Crocs craze has the company cashing in, earning a record $362 million in its third quarter alone, up nearly 16% from this time last year. The brand is on track to end the year bringing in one of the highest profits in its 18-year history. Rayanne believes all the artist collaborations have certainly helped to up Crocs' cool factor.
I think musicians are making Crocs cooler because some people only have like the Crocs that they've released, or only want the Crocs that they release because they're such fans of the musicians.
Despite some haters hoping that Crocs will be a fleeting fad, Veronique reminds us that comfort never goes out of style. Many find once they cross over to Crocs,
it's hard when you have had that kind of comfort to go back to something that is uncomfortable. And I think that people probably are not going to just go do a complete 180. I think that this is going to be part of our landscape for a while.
Covered heels appear so yesteryear.
An acquired taste for some, must-have for others. I do sometimes wear my husband's bright yellow Crocs. Before we go tonight, the image of the day, a sure sign of what feels like the longest year of our lives is almost over. But let's be honest, we're all looking forward to saying goodbye to 2020. The famous ball that will drop in Times Square on New Year's Eve is now complete. Workers have now installed the final panels of Waterford crystal triangles. There won't be crowds huddled to watch the ball drop this year, but you can see it right here on ABC News Live. We will be ringing in 2021 around the world all day long. Let the countdown begin. That's our show for this hour. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Janae Norman in for Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Have a good night.